Namaste and welcome to ReactBits. If you repeat anything more than twice, then I say that's a suitable task for automation. And for automation, we can use anything from Bash scripts to Python to any other programming language like JavaScript or Dart. So we are heavily using Dart and Flutter. We are learning Dart and Flutter. So why not use Dart itself for our automation tasks? Today, we will look how we can automate. So we'll look browser automation using Dart. And in this episode, we will create new GitHub repository without ever using GitHub API, just with browser automation and some Dart scripts. So let's get started. First of all, for this, I am using DCLI package. So this DCLI package is quite awesome package that supports or provides lots of functionalities required for writing Bash style scripts with Dart. First of all, if you have not already installed Dart or Flutter in your system, you can go to dart.dev/get and then install Dart in your system. Once you have Dart in your system, what we can do is we can use pub command. So pub global activate DCLI. So this will install DCLI package globally so that we can use it to create our scripts and also running scripts. Once this is done, next what we can do, DCLI install. So this will install DCLI tools so that we can run Dart scripts easily using Bash like syntax. Okay, now we can see here that we can create our first DCLI script using following command, DCLI create script name dot Dart. So let me move on to my project folder. Here, let me create a new folder, browser automation, and here I will create GitHub.dart underscore. So let me open this in Visual Studio Code. So let's run get packages. Our pub spec has args, DCLI and path dependency. So name should be browser underscore automation. Now let's run get packages again. And here we have our initial script that does some things. So we are not going to use this. We are only going to use this cbang line from this. So let's remove all the codes. Now for our browser automation, we'll use something called Puppeteer. So let us add that dependency here. Puppeteer 1.22.0 version. Okay. Let's run flutter pub get. Now that we have Puppeteer, let's start writing our functions. So first we'll create a main function, void main, and this will get a list of string args, and let's make this asynchronous function. So this args is the arguments that come from command line while executing the script. So let's print something. Welcome to browser automation script. All right. So we can use here single quote. Next, let's set up our username and password. So var username equals, and we can use some functions from DCLI. So let me import DCLI. Once we import DCLI, we can use something called ask. It's a function using which we can ask values from user in the terminal. So here we want GitHub username All right, and we can even provide a default value. So for me, my default GitHub username will be this. So next, password, ask password, and hidden true. So password should be hidden. So what we can do, let's print username and let's print password. All right, now simply if we run this script, create GitHub, it will ask us username first. So let's tap it as it is, and password, let's give a simple password. So it's printing our username and password. Now we are able to ask values from user or get input from user using Dart script. Next, what we'll do is we will launch a browser and try to open GitHub. For that, let me create another function called create GitHub repo, where I'll pass username and password, and here create GitHub repo. Let's make this feature void and let's await this, and this should ask for username and password. Now using Puppeteer, what we can do is we can launch browser, open pages, and do various automations. So let us see how. Let's create a browser. And for this, we need to import Puppeteer. Puppeteer.dart, right? So here we launch, and let's make headless false so that you can see that browser. You can see browser is launching and going to GitHub pages async. Now next, what we can do, page equals browser.new page. So let's create a new page. Then finally page.go to, let's go to GitHub login. Okay, now if we run this script, now let us run this script. Let's give username and password as empty for now. Now it should launch a browser. For the first time, if you are installing Puppeteer, it might take a long time. Also for the first time when you are building Puppeteer, it might take longer time. Let's wait. So we can see that our browser is opening, new page is created, and it has redirected to github.com/login. Next, what we'll do is we'll find the selector for these username and password field, and we'll enter the username and password that we provided in the script here, and try to tap this sign in button so that we can log into GitHub. So let me close this. Now here what we can pass is we can pass another optional parameter, that is wait, and we can send something like until dot network idle. So until network is idle, we wait, and then let's find the selector. If we go to GitHub page, let me try this again so I can show you how to find selector, and then we can continue on so that you understand what I'm doing. So if I inspect this here, inspect, we can see that this input has name login, and we can use this as a selector. So let me close this. Here what I can do is selector equals input name equals login. So these are like jQuery selectors. These are jQuery or CSS selectors. We can directly use these selectors with Puppeteer. And here we can do await page dot wait for selector. So wait for selector, our selector. So this will wait until the selector is available, or if that selector is not available, it will generate timeout error. Next, click selector. So we can click on that. So we are clicking on the login field. Here we'll enter our username. So page.type, and we can pass in same selector again, and the text will be our username. And again, await page dot, sorry, let's create selector for password. So we can use the same selector and input name equals password. So this time we are selecting the password field, and again we can duplicate these 3 lines below this, below after the selector is changed, and then here we'll pass in password. All right, and once we do this, now we need to tap on the login button. So for that, our selector will be input name equals commit. Okay, and here again we just want wait and click. So we wait for the selector, then we click on the login button. So if we pass in correct username and password, we should be able to log in to GitHub using this automation script. So let us run our automation script. This time I'll provide my correct username and password. So this is my correct username, then I'll provide my correct password. See, now it will enter the username and password, signing in, and successfully we have signed in. And if this is the first time you are using Puppeteer, you might get notice from GitHub that you need to verify with OTP or something. If that happens, then try to log in manually in this same browser instance that is created by Puppeteer, so that from next time you will not be asked that. Okay, now that we are able to log in, let's create new project. So let's see how we can create new project, and for that we need to pass in the name for the new repository, right? So we can pass the name for new repository in our command line argument. So I can do something like new repository, and this new repository will be created. To do that, here I'll make name equals args.first, and for this we need to check if args is empty. If args is empty, print required one argument name of the project. So we need to give an error message and return, because if no args is provided, we don't want to continue. And here if args is provided, then this will be our project name, and we'll pass that into our create method. So here let's use string name. Now let us try to run without any arguments. It should give us an error and return. So let's see. Okay, it's not giving an error. Yeah, so after asking, yeah, we are doing this after asking. So let me do this before asking, because we need to make sure that we are getting an argument before asking username and password. So if we run this now, we get an error, required one argument, name of the project. Okay, now that we can get a project name, username and password and log in successfully. So once this is done, we have successfully logged in. We can redirect page new repo creation. So that link will be, let's go to https:/new github.com/new. So we are at the new page. Again, we'll create some selectors and enter the name of the repository. So here selector will be input name repository name. It is something like this. So you can, as I have shown before, you can find all of these by going here in this link and inspecting those elements that you want to select. And now let's copy these and let's copy this as well. So what we need to do, we need to wait for selector, then we need to click on that repository name, and here instead of password we pass in name, that is the name of our repository. Okay, and finally we want to make it, let's make it private. If we want to make it private, selector is has repository visibility private. So if we want to make it private, we can wait for this selector and click. So this will make our repository private. And finally we need to tap on the create repo button. So here selector will be button dot first in line and not disabled. So initially the button is disabled, so we do not want to press it until it is enabled. Finally we can await and click so that our new repository will be created, and we can browser.close. But right now I will comment this browser.close because we want to see it in action. So here repo created, let's give it a long name, repo created using Dart automation, and let's tap enter. This should run. This should ask me for username, that's fine. My password, it should open. Enter username, password, sign in. Okay, most probably I entered wrong password. Let's run again. Username and password. Let's hope I entered correct password. Okay, go to new. Okay, now it's entering the repository name, making it private, and has tapped create repository. So we can see that our new repository has been created successfully and we have been redirected. Finally, if we uncomment this line, the browser will be automatically closed as well. Also, we can make it headless so that we will not see the browser in action. So let's revise what we have done. First, we installed DCLI using pub global activate DCLI. Then we ran dcli.install, and these two things are to be done only once. So once you do this, you don't have to do this again. And to create a new script, we just use dcli create and then our script name. Once we have the name of our script, then we installed Puppeteer package for browser automation. Then we created our main function, and using this ask function that is provided to us by DCLI, we asked user input for username and password. Even we can ask hidden passwords using hidden true. Then we passed the project name as command line argument, which was passed in the main functions. And then we created a create GitHub repo function where we used Puppeteer. And using Puppeteer, first we launched a browser, then we created a new page, then we redirected our new page to GitHub login. Then using various CSS selectors, we waited for the selector to be available, then we clicked on the selector, then we typed, or then we clicked. So for text fields, we clicked on the selector to highlight the text field, and then we used type function to type username and password, and then we clicked on the button to log in. Once we were successfully logged in, we redirected page to github/new to create new repository. Then we used again repository name selector to type the name of the repository that was provided via command line arguments. Then we used the repository visibility private selector to make the repository private, or you can comment these 3 lines to make it public. Finally, we used a selector for create repository button when it is not disabled, so in not disabled state, and then we waited for that selector. Finally, we clicked on that selector to create our new repository, and then we can run browser.close to close our browser instance. So this automation script will automatically create any GitHub repository without you having to do it manually. So I hope this will be handy enough for you, because if you are a developer, you are always creating GitHub repositories, either public or private. So we can even send in other command line arguments notifying whether to make it public or private. These kind of things can be done easily. And in the next episode, we'll learn some other automation with Dart. Thank you everyone. Please provide me your feedback. If you love this episode, if you like this very much, I'll add more tutorials on automation using Dart and DCLI. Thank you. See you again in the next episode.